Hi, Mark Decode here. Just a quick note about a mistake I made during this episode. I mentioned the coupon code JOLLY40 to receive 40% off any iThemes product purchased before the end of 2017. That code is wrong. The actual coupon code is JINGLE40. You can use it to buy Backup Buddy, iThemes Security Pro, or any of the other products put out by iThemes. All you have to do is visit resourcefuldesigner.com/iThemes and use the coupon code JINGLE40 in your purchase to save 40%. Thanks. And now, on with the show. Resourceful Designer, episode 101, the 3 C's to a successful design business.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer Podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. He broke his hand trying to break a board in karate class. Mark Decode.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I have an interesting topic, or at least what I think is an interesting topic, and that's the 3 C's to a successful design business. And I'm going to share how having these, quote, 3 C's can benefit you in your starting, in your running, and just progressing through your design career and your design business. But before I get to that, I want to congratulate Mike Albuquerque. Mike is the winner of the episode 100 contest that I put out. And I have to say that the contest didn't last very long. Mike was, I believe, the 3rd guess. And if you didn't listen to last episode, I had just mentioned that there was a stock photo or a woman, a model, that I have seen over the years in so many different instances. I've seen her on flyers, I've seen her on billboards, I've seen her on Facebook ads. Her face pops up everywhere. And I wanted to know if it was just me or if other people thought the same thing. So I made a contest, and all I said was it was a brunette woman, I'd say in her early 20s. And if you could figure out who I was talking about, you would win a $100 Amazon gift card. Well, Mike was the 3rd person to submit a guess, and he guessed it right. And it's funny because Mike said that he and his colleagues actually used to joke around and call that woman Miss iStock Photo, because anytime they did a search on iStock, her face would pop up. And sure enough, on iStock, on so many other different photo sites, it seems like every time that I do a search for something, just the other day, I had to find a nurse, and I did a search for a woman nurse. And sure enough, this girl popped up as one of the search results. And I know at this point, because she's so popular, I'd probably never end up using her again, but I have used her in the past. Anyways, I just thought that was a little fun contest I'd throw out there for episode 100. And I just want to once again congratulate Mike on his correct guessing. And now Mike has a $100 gift card from Amazon that I sent to him, which hopefully will come in handy because it is the time of this recording. We are right before Christmas. In fact, this will be the very last episode for 2017. So for anybody listening before the holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever it is you celebrate, and a Happy New Year. I will see you in 2018 after this episode is done. Speaking of stock photos, Storyblocks, one of this week's sponsors, is a stock photo site. Now, the other sponsor, Brandfolder, I will get to towards the end of the episode. But for now, I want to talk a little bit about Storyblocks. Now, Storyblocks is the umbrella company for 3 different sites: videoblocks.com, audioblocks.com, and storyblocks.com/images, which, if you are familiar with graphicstocks.com, that has now been renamed to Storyblocks. So if you already were a member of Graphicstocks, you are a member now of Storyblocks.com. Now, one of the great things about Storyblocks is, unlike other sites where you pay per photo, with Storyblocks, you buy a membership and then you get unlimited access to as many photos as you want. If you wanted, you can download their entire library of stock images. Now, I wouldn't go that far myself, but having the ability to download unlimited images does give you a freedom when it comes to designing. Just last week, I was working on a website and I needed a hero image of a family. I wanted a nice image of a family to put so that whenever somebody loaded up the page, it would be a huge photo that they would see. And I wanted to find a nice photo of a family at a gathering, having fun, but I needed some positioning in it because I needed to put some text over the image. And I wanted to make sure that the text wouldn't be cutting through anybody's faces or stuff like that. So instead of downloading comp size photos or watermarked photos, I just went to Storyblocks and I looked for families and I downloaded every photo I could find that I thought was appropriate. And I tried them out until I found one. And I didn't have to worry about purchasing these things, or maybe they were really low res images. Because the thing is when I did find one that worked, I just left it there. I didn't have to go and say, okay, well, this one works. Now I'll go purchase the actual image and takes more time. When I found the right one that I liked, it was just a matter of leaving it there, making sure the type worked, and moving on to the next part of the website. And those other photos, I left a couple of them in the project folder, and some that I just found didn't work or I don't think I would need other places on the website, I simply deleted them. It was no big deal. They didn't cost me anything extra to download. They were all part of my membership. Now, as a listener of Resourceful Designer, Storyblocks is offering you an incredible offer. As I mentioned at the beginning, they have 3 sites: videoblocks.com, which is all stock video images, audioblocks.com, which is all audio clips, and of course, storyblocks.com. Now, for a limited time, you can get all 3 of these sites for only $149 for the full year. Normally, that's the price you would pay for one of these sites. But they're giving you a 3-for-1 deal if you visit storyblocks.com/resourcefuldesigner. And that gives you full access to all 3 sites for an entire year. So if you need stock images, whether it's photos or vectors or illustrations, videos, and maybe audio clips, this is the perfect opportunity for you to pick up all 3 sites for the price of one. Once again, you could only get the deal by visiting storyblocks.com/resourcefuldesigner. And now, this week's Resource of the Week. Now, I'm going back to an old resource this time around because they just updated it recently. And that resource is Backup Buddy by iThemes. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've heard me mention Backup Buddy several times. I use it for backing up every single one of my client sites. It's on my WordPress cheat sheet or checklist that I mentioned from episode 89, which you can still get if you visit resourcefuldesigner.com/WP checklist. It's a plugin that I install on every single WordPress website that I build. And now iThemes just recently released a new version of Backup Buddy, an updated version. And what they've done is they've made the link between live site and staging site or development site so much easier. And I'm loving the new features that they have. I used to love Backup Buddy. Actually, I still love Backup Buddy for migrating from my test server to the live site. I have a special domain I have that I install WordPress on id and on subdirectories for every client site I build. And that allows me to build the site without worrying about anything. And it gives a place for my clients to go see the site and we can make changes without the rest of the world seeing the site. And once the site is approved by my client and I receive payment as per contract, when I receive the balance of the payment, once that happens, then I can migrate the site from my sandbox or test server to the actual server and actual domain that the site's going to live on. And Backup Buddy made this really easy. I was able to migrate a site in less than 5 minutes, mostly, depending on the size of the site. If there was large database and a lot of files, it might take a little bit longer, but it's really easy. But now they've taken it one step further. And unlike before, where I would have to download the site and then upload it to where the live site is and then run some software through it, now they could connect a live site with a sandbox site, and you can push and pull things. So with Backup Buddy, you never have to work on a live website again. If you want to make sure that the test site or your working site is up to date, you just pull all the information from the live site and it'll update your sandbox site to make sure that it is even with the live site. And then you make all the changes you want. You can check them out, make sure they work, make sure nothing's broken. And once everything's okay, then you can push the changes back to the live site. So this new feature in Backup Buddy is something that I'm really enjoying. I've already taken advantage of it. And it just makes it so easy because now I can work on the site on my test server. And whenever the time comes, it's just a matter of clicking a button and all the changes that I've made get uploaded instantly to the client's live site, which means the client site is never down for more than a couple of seconds while the update takes place. And for that reason alone, I decided to use Backup Buddy as this week's resource again, because this update has made it even more valuable than what I already thought it was. So if you want to give Backup Buddy a try, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/backupbuddy and give it a shot. And if you're listening to this podcast in 2017, if you use the coupon code JINGLE40, you can save 40% off everything you buy at iThemes, including Backup Buddy. So now's the perfect time to try it if you've been on the fence. And now, the 3 C's to a successful design business. Now, there's a lot more involved with running a successful design business than just being a good designer. In fact, I've said it before on the podcast that being a good designer may be one of the least important things in a successful design business. Now, that's not saying that you can succeed if you're a bad designer. You're not going to get very far. But being a good designer is not the main focus of a successful design business. I know many great designers who just simply don't have what it takes to run a business on their own. Some of them have tried and it just didn't work out for them. And some of them knew beforehand that they just don't have what it takes, so they never tried. They just want to work for an employer and they're satisfied that way. And there is nothing wrong with that. There are many designers who will go their entire life working for an employer and they love it. And more power to them if that's what they like. The print shop that I worked at, one of the designers, she was there when I was hired on. Well, I just found out that she's retiring. This week is her last week there. And I want to reach out to her and congratulate her. But she spent her entire career working at the print shop. She started there straight out of college, and now she's retiring, and she's worked there her entire design life. And there's a lot of designers out there that's what they want to do. There's actually only a small number of designers who want to start their own business. It's just like there are only some chefs out there that are destined to run their own restaurant. Most chefs are content working in somebody else's kitchen. Well, the same goes for designers. But for those designers like myself who want to run our own design business, it takes skill, it takes determination, and it takes perseverance for it to succeed. Plus, a little thing I like to call the 3 C's. Now, those 3 C's are curiosity, competence, and confidence. Let's start with curiosity. As a designer, you need to be curious. If you listen to last week's episode 100, where I talked about what being a designer means to me, that episode was dedicated a lot to my curiosity in the design space. I told a story about my wife catching me staring at a Victoria's Secret poster in a mall, not because I was looking at the scantily clad woman who was in the poster, but because I was trying to figure out how the designer had created the type, the wording, the effect that it had. I was curious. It was my curiosity that got me staring and dissecting it and trying to figure out how I would go about recreating it. And the same goes for everything we look at. Designers need to be curious. Now, there are some designers that I know that aren't that curious. They're good at their skill, but they just do the same thing day in, day out, especially if you work for an in-house design studio for a company. After a while, a lot of these designers tend to burn out because there's nothing to be curious about. They're designing the same things over and over and over again for the same company. There's no room to grow, to expand, to envision. And that curiosity is sometimes lost upon them. But curiosity is needed to help us grow as designers. Curiosity is what keeps us up on the trends that are happening, new things coming about in the design world, as well as learning from the past. It's that curiosity to know what came before us that helps us grow as designers as well. That curiosity also keeps us in the know on stuff like new software or new apps and new gadgets that can help us in our work. The curiosity in us is what ensures that we don't get left behind. If we are running a design business and we have competition, that curiosity helps us grow as designers so that we can keep up and hopefully surpass our competition. Because if we fall behind, then we will lose clients to that competition. Now, the second C in my 3 C's is competence, which in order to succeed in any business, you have to have a certain level of competence. And designers are no different. We have to have a level of skill. I mentioned at the beginning that being a good designer isn't a necessity or isn't the main focus of a business, but it sure does help. And having competence means that you have the ability to master your craft to your potential. You use the curiosity that I mentioned earlier to grow your craft, to become better at it, and become competent in what you are doing. Think about it. You may be a good designer now, or you may be good at a certain aspect of design now, but imagine how much better you can be if you just continue to pursue that craft and grow. It's that competence that helps you do that. When I started off in web design, I was using software. I think the first software I used was Adobe PageMill, and I used that for a while and then switched to Adobe Go Live. Well, they were all WYSIWYG programs. There was basically a grid and you would drag stuff around. If you wanted a photo, you dragged the photo wherever you wanted onto the grid. If you wanted a heading or graphic element, you just dragged them around until they were where you wanted them, and the program created the code. There was really not much to them, but I wanted to grow as a designer. So a little bit of curiosity and a lot of competence, and I started learning some coding language to help me because there were certain things that those earlier web programs were not capable of doing. And the only way to achieve them was to do it through coding. So I started learning how to code in order to help me with those programs. Then when Adobe Go Live, finally, Adobe mentioned that they were no longer supporting it or they were no longer going to be updating it or anything. That's when I made the decision to learn coding even more. I had learned a little bit of coding over the years at that point to help me out with little problems I was having. But I learned coding more so that I can build complete websites. And then for years, I was hand coding all my client websites. And I was getting better and better and better at it. It was that competence level. And then whenever I discovered WordPress, which, funny enough, the reason I started using WordPress was because of podcasting. It just made it easier because of some of the plugins required to have a podcast. It was easier to do them with WordPress than to try to hand code them. So that's what got me started in WordPress. But once I discovered it, then I realized how potential this platform was. And I started learning it. And my competence is what kept me going, kept me learning until I became a WordPress designer. I still don't call myself a developer, even though I know a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I still am a WordPress designer. But that level of competence I have is what helps me grow as a designer. If I look back years ago, there's no way I could be designing the websites I'm designing now with what I knew before. So it had to do with curiosity and the competence that I was able to learn to get to the stage that I'm at now. And it's that competence that will keep me learning because I am not where I want to be. There are many more things I want to learn and I want to grow that will help my business. And it's these things that keep clients coming back to me when they find out about the confidence that I have, the competence and the curiosity. Well, curiosity, clients don't really think about that, but it's these things. When one person refers another client to me, the things that they know is the competence I have. Now, competence is also, it can involve other things like just being able to deliver on time or the quality or your ability to communicate with the client. All that comes down to competence. Now, the last C I wanted to talk about is confidence. You have to have unwavering confidence in yourself if you are going to succeed. You cannot have a successful design business if you don't have confidence in yourself. Now, confidence doesn't mean that you are going to succeed all the time. You will fail. It's inevitable. But having confidence means that even when you fail, I don't say if, I do say when, even when you fail, you will learn from those failures to become a better designer and a better business owner. Think of Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. He was a man who actually said of himself, he claimed he failed himself to success because he had so many failures before succeeding in any of his many inventions. In fact, there's a famous quote by Thomas Edison that goes, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And that goes for any business, especially design. When we're designing stuff, when we're doing these things for our clients, we will have failures. That makes me think of a t-shirt that Adam Savage from the Discovery Channel's show Mythbusters used to wear. I'd see him on many episodes. He had a t-shirt that said, "Failure is always an option." And I always love that t-shirt because it applies to so much more than just their science and the stuff they were doing on the show. It applies to life. Failure is always an option, but failure is also an opportunity to learn. And that's called confidence. And it can be applied to your design business. When a client doesn't like a design you did or doesn't like the direction you're taking in a project and tells you to stop or do something different, that could be seen as a failure by some designers. They would be turn in on themselves. They would feel dejected that they failed. They didn't do what the client wanted. But what you need to do is see this as a learning opportunity. You look at these failures. What didn't the client like? What did the client like? Just because the client doesn't like it, you can question them. Okay, what is it you didn't like? Is there any part of it that you did like? You need to learn from these things. And it's that confidence in your ability that'll help you see this failure as a learning opportunity. Because even the greatest designers in the world, they get it wrong more often than they get it right. But because of their confidence, when they do get it right, it's great. It's all part of the process, whether it's designing or running a business. Take Aaron Draplin, for example. If you know who he is, he's a really skilled and charismatic designer. And he's given talks and he's recorded videos and all sorts of stuff. But if you've ever watched one of Aaron's videos on his approach to logo design, where he's demonstrating how he goes about designing a logo, and you look at how many pencil sketches he does in his little field note journals before finally choosing maybe one or two that he's going to develop more on the computer. He might have dozens and dozens of little sketches that he did, all stuff that he put down and then discarded. Those images that are discarded are all failures in a way, because he drew something out and then decided that, no, that doesn't work. So it was a failure in that one instance. But his confidence in himself kept him going. And then once he picks one or two different designs and he puts them onto the computer and starts playing around with them, he goes through the exact same process again. He tries drawing or creating his sketch on the computer. And sometimes it'll work, and sometimes he'll discard it. He'll move it off to the side, try something different, move that one off to the side, try something different. And he keeps doing this until finally he has something. And what keeps Aaron Draplin going is his confidence in his ability as a designer. He knows that he can create something great if he just keeps at it. And yes, that can go for any designer, whether you're running a business or not. But when you're running a business, it is that much more important to have that confidence because it will come through. A client doesn't want to work with a designer that doesn't come off as being confident. Now, there's a difference between confidence and being cocky. You don't want to come off saying, "Oh, I'm the greatest designer in the world and my stuff is amazing." But coming off saying that, yes, I can design something really good and something that will work, and showing that confidence is a great relief to clients when they hear that sort of tone in your voice. So having confidence in yourself and in your abilities will go a long way in ensuring that your design business is a success. So there you have it. The 3 C's to a successful design business: curiosity that keeps you wondering, competence that keeps you going, and the confidence to see it through. If you have all 3, your road to successful design business is almost guaranteed. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on this topic. please leave me a comment by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 101. Now, before I get to this week's listener question, I want to talk about the second sponsor of today, and that's Brandfolder. Now, Brandfolder is the solution for managing digital brand assets. With Brandfolder, your clients can store, manipulate, distribute, and track all of their digital assets from one single location, whether they have one office or hundreds of offices around the world. No more looking through misplaced folders or old emails trying to figure out which version of a logo or an image or a marketing piece is the most recent one, because everything on Brandfolder is always up to date. Now, as a designer, you know the importance of maintaining a good brand, because for any brand to succeed, consistency matters. And yet, the average business wastes over 60 hours each year searching for misplaced brand assets. That's almost 2 weeks of productivity lost for no reason whatsoever. But with Brandfolder, all of a company's approved brand assets can be distributed either privately within the organization or publicly to places like media outlets and other companies that require them. And this benefits any company who wants to maintain brand consistency. Companies like JetBlue, Slack, Under Armour, and thousands more rely on Brandfolder to provide a single source for everything related to their brand. And your clients can too. Discover the power of Brandfolder today by going to brandfolder.com/resourcefuldesigner, where you or your client can unlock the complete potential of their brand assets with a free 90-day trial. That's brandfolder.com/resourcefuldesigner. Let your clients take control of their digital brand assets from one location, setting them up for success in 2018. And now, this week's question of the week. This week's question comes in from Rich. It says, "Hey, Mark, thank you so much for the podcast and resources. I just discovered your podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I've already listened to almost all 99 episodes. Congratulations on 100 plus." Well, I'm going to stop right there and just say thank you very much, Rich. If you just discovered the podcast a couple of weeks ago and you've already listened to all 99 episodes, wow, that's a feat. Thank you very much. And yeah, I hope you're not getting tired of listening to my voice. And Rich goes on, "I'm starting a web design and media company, and I want to offer reseller hosting. It seems like I have heard you say that you offer hosting to your clients, but I haven't heard any specifics. Do you have any specific detailed advice for getting started with reseller hosting?" Well, thank you for the question, Rich. And first of all, what I do for my clients, yes, I do reseller hosting. And I have an account with a company. My company in Canada here is called Names Pro. And you can check them out, resourcefuldesigner.com/namespro. It's a Canadian company that I do my hosting with. And what I do is I buy a package on their server that allows me, my current package is an unlimited website. So I pay a certain amount every quarter to have a certain amount of space on the server. And with that space, I can put as many clients as I want on there. Now, yes, this is shared hosting. It's not VPN or private servers or anything like that. This is shared hosting, but for most clients, shared hosting is perfectly okay for them. So what I do for my clients, in my case, I charge $35 a month for my hosting. And what that entails is the hosting. I also include a security plugin to prevent stuff like brute force attacks or login attempts. So I use iThemes security for that, which again, I mentioned Backup Buddy, the same company that does Backup Buddy, that right now, if you use the code Jolly40, you get 40% off your purchases. So you can get both Backup Buddy and iThemes security for 40% off right now till the end of 2017. So I do offer the security. I offer backups using Backup Buddy, and I can either do scheduled backups if they don't do a lot of updates to their sites, or if it's a site that changes on a regular basis, I can actually set Backup Buddy to do live backups, which means as changes are made to the site is automatically being backed up. It's constantly watching to see if there's anything that changed. And as soon as it sees or detects something that's changed on the site, it backs it up immediately. So I offer the backups and I offer updates, which means updating WordPress, updating the theme, updating the plugins. And that's usually done on every 2 weeks. It's done twice a month where I go in. And I actually have my virtual assistant that does that for me. And that's done with another product by iThemes, which is Sync, which if you get any of the iThemes Backup Buddy or iTheme Security, you automatically get access to sync for free, and you can get up to 10 sites for it. Now, of course, I'm paying because I have more than 10 sites, but what sync does is it allows you to hook up a whole bunch of sites, and then you can do all your updates from that one dashboard. And that's what my virtual assistant uses. She goes in there, logs in, all the updates are listed there, and she can go in either by each individual client site. So go to client site A and do all the updates there, client site B, do all the updates there. Or she can go in and say, okay, well, this plugin, which is installed on all these websites, let's update this plugin on all the websites at once. And she can do that. So anyways, so that's what I offer for hosting. I offer, or for my hosting packages, I should say. I charge $35 a month for hosting, security, backup, and updates. Now, out of that, security is something that usually set it up once and you don't have to worry about it again as long as it's set up properly. Backups, once you set it up, you really don't have to worry about it unless you get an email. I have it set up to send me if there's an error message, I get an email. That's the only time I ever have to worry about that. And then there's the updates. So the updates is the only thing that I have to worry about. I have my virtual assistant do that. Updating a website's plugins usually takes less than 2 minutes per site. You get in there, you update, and then you're good. So I charge $35 a month for that. Now, I have some clients that do want secured sites. So I do have to get an SSL certificate for them. Those ones there, I'm charging extra for that if they want the HTTPS as opposed to just HTTP, which I know now Google is doing some stuff and you get more, but I have some clients that really don't care about that. And I've reached out to all my clients about it. And there's some of them that definitely wanted it. If they're doing any sort of e-commerce, they need it. But if they're not doing e-commerce, I have some clients that their website is just basically an online brochure. They don't have a blog. They're never updating it. It's just there. They don't care about the security certificate. So that's an additional add-on. Now, I only offer my hosting service if I'm hosting the site myself. Obviously, that makes sense. But what I mean is if my client wants to host their own site, but they want me to take care of security and backups and updates, I won't do it. I will only do it if they have my hosting package on my server. If they want to host their site, their site elsewhere, then they have to either find somebody else or take care of that stuff themselves. I won't be responsible for it. Now, I know some people that part of their hosting package, they'll charge a lot more because they also do maintenance on the website. Like when I say maintenance, I mean updates, like, change a heading or add a page or just do some updates to the actual website itself. Well, I don't include that because most of my clients don't need updates on a regular basis. So why are they going to pay a monthly fee? Like even if I say, you get 30 minutes of work per month, most of them won't end up using it. So any maintenance done, I just charge extra on top of if I need to do any changes. But reseller hosting is a great source of, it's practically passive income because I get paid $35 a month for every one of my clients that has a site hosted with me. And I just pay my virtual assistant to go in and update the sites. And the cost of my virtual assistant is, let's put it this way, one client website hosted with me covers the cost of my virtual assistant. Every other client website is just money that's coming in every month for me. So anybody who is doing web design, I highly encourage you to do reseller hosting. It's easy money. And if things do go wrong, most of the time, I don't have to take care of it myself. I will just contact my hosting company and say there's a problem here, and they take care of it within an hour or two, a lot better than if I had to do it. So anyways, hope that answers your question, Rich. If there's anything else to follow up, just send me an email and I'll be happy to answer your questions. But that's the rundown of how I do it. I offer hosting, security, and backup, and of course the plugins, WordPress, and theme updates, all for $35 a month. Now, if you have a question you'd like me to answer on a future episode of the podcast, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback and fill out the form there with your question. Now, I've got a really small iTunes review to share with you. It's another 5-star. This one comes in from the Philippines and it was left by Lineage420 and just says, trying to listen from the first cast. Loving it. Gives me lots of insight. Well, thank you very much for that review. I do appreciate it. And I think that's my first one from the Philippines. I didn't go double check, but I'm pretty sure that's the first review I got from the Philippines. So thank you very much. So that's it for this week. I want to remind you of the Resource of the Week Backup Buddy with their new version that just came out that allows push and pull from your test site with the live site. It makes it so easy for deployment. I am loving this new feature. And if you want to try Backup Buddy, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/backupbuddy. And don't forget to use the coupon code JOLLY40 before the end of 2017 to save 40% off Backup Buddy. And you can also get iTheme security or anything else. It's a site-wide coupon, so anything you buy from iThemes will be 40% off. Now, I want to thank this week's sponsors, Storyblocks. Don't forget to take the advantage of their 3-for-1 deal by visiting storyblocks.com/resourcefuldesigner, and Brandfolder, where your client can unlock the complete potential of their brand assets with a free 90-day trial by visiting brandfolder.com/resourcefuldesigner. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am Mark Decote, wishing you all the best with your graphic design business, and as always, reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.